Hello everyone, my name is Patrick Garcia. This is my curriculum review project for EECE 642, and I'm a fourth grade teacher, and the curriculum that I reviewed was My Math by McGraw-Hill. The overall purpose, my objective, was to review fourth grade math curriculum to make sure that it is aligned to the Minnesota academic standards. Another reason why I picked this particular math curriculum, because this past year we were actually piloting different types of math curriculum. This was one of the math curriculum that I piloted this year. So following our considerations, what I did with our paper is that there's 14 units in our math curriculum. And I broke it down to all the units, and there's always one big guiding question per unit, and there's also an objective. So it's kind of like an overall question that's trying to be answered that builds upon each other with each lesson within the unit. And I'll show an example here later. So the objective was trying to align these to the standards and making sure that it's going to be engaging activities for our students and making sure that there's going to not be that much supplementation. Already heading into it, whenever we're piloting new math curriculum or reading curriculum, usually it's going to be based on the Common Core standards, and there's got to be some type of supplementation. So that's going into it this year. We knew we're trying to pick a math curriculum that's going to have less of that. So overall for fourth grade, there are 8 standards and roughly I think 27 to 28 benchmarks. So I broke it down to all the units. So there's 14 units in all the standards. As you can see, a major standard that we try to hit upon is the mastery of multiplication and division basic facts. And as you can see that My Math has plenty of units that keeps on hitting that standard. So already that's showing me that's a strength of this math curriculum. All right. So the online resources with My Math. So this is the sign in. Once you're signed in, this is kind of like the main page. So for an example that I'll show you here is chapter 6 divide by a 1-digit number. So thinking of our considerations with assessment types and purposes, when you are looking at the overall unit, here's that chapter at a glance. It gives you a pacing guide, about 12 days, 2 days for review and assessment. Before you even jump right into the lessons, you can do a diagnostic. So the diagnostic, the nice thing about it is it's in their student math journal. This one's a 14 question assessment. There's subtraction and addition, and there's also some basic division problems. Basically, it sees which students that already know it, which students that are still struggling with subtraction problems. After you get that information with the diagnostic, the math curriculum provides different opportunities for differentiation. So with that RTI, you have your tier 1 and tells you which items were missed. If they are beyond level, tells you other things that you can do with those particular students. And then it also gives different RTI interventions of the students that are still struggling. If you want, as the teacher, you can also give your students a pretest. Another strength with My Math is when you're downloading any of these assessments, it gives you the opportunity to edit and correct it. So like I was saying before, we're trying to find curriculum that's going to align with the Minnesota academic standards. So if we do come across a lesson that is not aligned with our standards, the nice thing is when we have assessments like this, we can adjust it. So it's more information, more data. And on the topic of assessments, if I want to see what the assessments are going to look like for this particular unit, I can click on this box, I go over to assessments, and then now it has every section and chapter. So before I was doing chapter 6 divided by a 1-digit number. So it has that am I ready, the diagnostic. Here's that diagnostic test, my pretest. And the nice thing about my math, there are different versions of the test. Usually chapter or form 1 or form 2 are multiple choice, and then your form 3 is going to be an open-ended question. So if I click on chapter test form 1A, I can click on it. I can see what the chapter is going to be like. As like I said before, there's multiple choice. If you're a teacher that doesn't like the multiple choice, you actually want to see the work to see what your students actually know, there's chapter 3A. And there's your open-ended question. Also, at the end of every unit, there's a performance task. So here's an example. Zoom out here. So this is part C. There's an A-B as well, but it gives you a problem. So this one's using, this one was multi-digit multiplication. So I think that is in unit 5. And with every performance task, it comes with a scoring rubric. So for this one was part C, gives you a scoring rubric of what it would show for full credit, partial credit, and no credit as well. In the My Math curriculum, it also provides student examples. So as a teacher, you know the expectation, what is expectation for 4th grade performance task behavior. All right. The next part I'll show you is the instruction. So, let's see. So here is the chapter at a glance. It's showing you all your lessons. Once you kind of see that, you can go into a particular lesson. So let's start with lesson 1. Divide multiples of 10, 100, and 1000. It provides a standard of the Common Core standard. It also says what students should understand and what students will be able to do at the end of this lesson. So there's an essential question for the entire unit, and each and every lesson tries to build upon that. For the teaching portion, it's guided. It used real-world math problems. It aligns to that standard, especially for the Minnesota standard, what we were trying to look for. And then as a teacher, it also gives you that differentiated instruction. So with your approaching level, on level, beyond level, and then also your ELLs. There's also slides that go with every lesson. So here's that lesson 1, divide multiples of 10, 100, and 1000. It's 20 slides, but you can adjust to it. So here's the essential question that is for the entire unit. So each and every lesson is trying to address this question. By the end, students reflect and then they answer this essential question. So how does division affect numbers? So there's the problem of the day. Get their minds warmed up. There's quick checks. You can take notes. And then they always start with a real-world math problem. Our mission statement, our goal, especially at our building, is to make academics aiming it more towards the real world. It has a guided practice, opportunities for students to share with one another with our talk math, like a think, pair, share. and this is their independent practice. Real world math problems, and then there's also my homework practice. All this information in these slides are also in their student math journals. This is also in the teacher edition, so you can get a physical copy of it. Myself, I like digital, I like less paper, um, which brings me to consideration 7. As a teacher, you can see the resources that with it. You have your online resource. Also, with when you're preparing for the chapter, you can look at reading connections. So it gives you readers. So you can tie that in with your guided reading, or if you're doing guided math, or if you can do it for stations. It also gives you the opportunity to assign tasks or assignments uh, online for students. So if you have iPads, if you have computer lab time, it's kind of like that self-correction. And then you can also make e-assessments. You can create a new test, and you can always grab it from the old test. As you can see, like including technology with all my lessons. So this might seem overwhelming for someone who does not like this. Another strength with my math is that there's professional development, and they're always willing to help with our staff. I know our school, since we're piloting this and we've just accepted this My Math curriculum, we're going to have professional development courses. There's also webinars that go with My Math, and there's tons of resources for teachers. And basically, you can adjust it to your type of teaching style. Overall, regarding with the curriculum, it does align with our Minnesota academic standards. Large majority of them do. There are numerous amounts of resources to further engage student learning. And like I said, there's professional development is available for staff members. Some weaknesses. There are 3 units where lessons are not aligned to the standards. For example, we have customary measurement, metric measurement, and there's a part with operations with fractions where they have multiplication of fractions. And in 4th grade, for the Minnesota academic standards, we don't cover these type of 3 units. But there are lessons inside those units that will still cover a standard. So there's still some things that we need to supplement. Some supplementation that we still need to do that going forward as a staff, that we do need to supplement the lessons that work with bar graphs, line graphs, also Venn diagrams too, story problems. But overall, I'm satisfied with this curriculum. Before we had everyday math, and between the 2 math curriculums, I believe that they're just very, very different. Each unit builds upon another in my math, so it's still building their schema upon every time they're learning a new lesson. All right, well, thank you for listening.